you have to stop sharing.
Okay, I will do that. Full disclosure, we are going to record this meeting because there were some that aren't able to make it. So I'm going to go ahead and start that recording, and then I will turn it into a video and share that with the group after the fact. All right, Jim, you should be good to go, my friend.
Okay, let's see here. If I can figure out how to do this, I'll be in business here. There we go. Whoops. Hold on, sorry about that. Can you see that, folks? Brian, can you see that?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, let me do it again. Sorry, very technologically challenged here. Ah, there we go. How about that? Can you all see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so hey, thanks for everyone rolling in here. If you can't hear me, say something, or text or chat or whatever. I'm going to kind of go through a whole bunch of slides with some images and things like that, and kind of give you my take on galas in general, and then also the virtual gala, what that might that be, you know, just kind of from that perspective. And then we'll do some question and answer and go from there. Okay, so the virtual gala, or what to do when you finally finish Netflix. Okay. I'm going to be talking. I'm the director of advancement at SETON. I had experience doing, well, I've done a lot of galas through the years, but I had experience with the virtual one back in September for our 65th anniversary. It was originally supposed to be in April, but we had to postpone it, and then we had to pivot to a virtual mode. I'm also a member of the Night of Hope committee, and that was a very, very different animal this year, as you know, and might talk a little bit about that. Ashley Hall's with us. She's at Mount Carmel, and Robyn, as Brian suggested. I want to do a quick shout out to my team over here, the A team. Karen Hill, she's our events manager. She may be on, I'm not sure. She kind of runs the school here. Maggie Brown deals with alumni relations and social media and all and those types of graphics and things like that. And Patricia Glass is our assistant director of advancement. We had a pretty good event, and you know, these three just kind of really drove the program. I just kind of got out of the way most of the time. I don't know why I'm talking. Okay, so the agenda. I think it's helpful for me anyway, it's helpful to organize my thoughts. And so I thought I'd give my take on events in general and then virtual events. And I'll blow through this really quickly. What I think the 4 objectives of events should be: build a team, key strategies, organizing your night, and then we'll go into practical applications on what things we actually did. All of us will talk about that. Some lessons learned, and Q&A afterward. Okay. So my quick take on events. Why would we even want to do it? They are a ton of work. Lots of human capital is expended. You know, you got to know if you have the team to be able to do it. Is it the best use of time? And frankly, you have to ask your question, is the juice worth the squeeze? So, to do or not to do a virtual event, that's the question. I think you have to ask yourself these questions. And this is what we did formally and informally when we were starting this. And I say that because SETON hadn't done a gala dinner auction for about 5 years. So the question is your organization's mission worthwhile? Probably. And has your organization done events the last few years? If you answered yes and yes, if your mission was important before COVID, it's still worthwhile, and perhaps even more so for many of us. And if you have a recent history of annual events, then absolutely, just do it because your audience expects it. Yes and no. If you haven't been doing recent events, then maybe you still should. And that's the decision that we did because it was our 65th anniversary. We were just going to jump right in and make the most of our 65th anniversary. So that's our launching pad. So events for me, they are a ton of work. But if you put them in the context of what you're trying to achieve, I think it helps frame how you do everything. First and foremost, you build community. Second, you deliver a message. Third, you cultivate donors, existing ones, new ones, corporate donors, foundational support, others. And then finally, and your eyes aren't deceiving you, I think the least important thing is actually to raise money. Because if you build community, everything follows, and you will raise money if you build that sense of community. Okay. So meeting your 4 objectives, a live event is significantly easier. You have the environment, your theme, decor. You can have that direct interaction, kissing babies, shaking hands, kissing babies, all of that. You can control your speakers, the kids, the videos, all of that. If you want to do awards and do recognitions, you have the opportunity to do that. You can dim the lights and control the audience as best you possibly can. You can touch and feel the auction items, and if you do any sort of a direct ask, raise the paddle for a project, the energy in the room can be and should be very palpable if you do it, if you do it all right. The challenges with a virtual event is it's very, very hard to establish that environment. Very short attention span. People are very easily distracted, as you can tell by me. Well, that was a picture of a squirrel, so we're going to skip that. The communication is very one-directional. You need to have a very pithy and high-quality message to be delivered. The awards and recognition, that's just going to get totally lost probably. You can't touch and feel the items. You can't really even hardly see them. You got to take incredibly great pictures of it. And then you really do lose the energy of a live event where you're doing the paddle race. So these are the challenges that you have to overcome. And that was our big challenge. And again, we hadn't done an event in 5 years, and the reason we stopped doing events was they had lost their luster, and they had dwindled in their impact, attendance, and dollars. So building your team for a live event, you got all of these factors. You got to have a graphic designer, whether it's hired or not, on staff, marketing, volunteer management, volunteer committees, volunteers themselves. If you're making videos, you got to figure that out. So you got to have speakers, you got to have an MC, an auctioneer, you got to have donor relations, somebody going out there and actually securing upfront dollars perhaps, or gifts and items for the auction itself. And you have to have a bidding platform, whether it's a paper or a digital platform. And Robyn's going to talk about the digital world next. And if you're doing this for a virtual event, you have to do all of the above, and then you have to also figure out your content streaming. You have to have an auctioneer who has to be very, very dynamic. This is a pic of our guy who was our auctioneer, and that person has got to be able to just capture. Oh, my system's really slow. I apologize. Darn it. Oh, that's too bad. It's a funny picture. It's a guy basically in a tuxedo and he's wearing shorts and he's barefoot. But he has to be able to capture that, capture the audience over the internet, and that's challenging. Bidding is all digital, so you have to figure out how you're going to do that. Your basket and item distribution is a whole new challenge. Instead of people being able to pick it up right after the event, you have to figure out how you're going to do that, and then reporting the results and stewardship after that is critical and maybe similar, but maybe very different. So those are some of the things that we were working with. So key strategies that we had to go through. We had to have our own internal staff, assigning of different roles and responsibilities. We had to secure volunteers to help with the cause, and then we had to hire some help. And I'm going to make a comment about volunteers. We struggled with that. We had a lot of people. We were planning a live event, and when we were planning the live event before COVID, we had a whole host of volunteers who really wanted to help us out. And when COVID hit and things dwindled and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do, the volunteers kind of, at least half of them just kind of went dark on us. And I don't know if you guys have experienced that as well. It's certainly been our situation. So go figure. You got to make sure you identify your case for support and be able to communicate that very, very well. You got to create that message, and you got to script the night. Okay, practical applications. The internal team, we built that. We had those people in place. The high schools are probably in a little bit better situation with having a bigger staff. The elementary schools, I don't know what you guys are facing, but thankfully there's 3 people on my team. I think Polly has about 20 people on her team, but you know, she's cool like that. Oh, she's smiling. You know, building community. How are you going to do that? You know, if you can't be together, how are you going to build that sense of community, and how are we going to do that? Your team 2, your other hired help, and then your physical setup. How are you going to do all of this? And then the script, and you got to think Doobie Brothers on this one. Okay, so this is how we built the community. We were celebrating our 65th anniversary of the school, and our school has an interesting past. We were started as a school to educate the children of migrant farmers, and then as the East Valley expanded, you know, enrollment, you know, demographics kind of changed over time, as you might imagine. And so we talked a lot about that. We have an interesting episode in our history as well. Back in 1981, I believe it was, a disgruntled student burned down the building. So that was kind of fun part of the history presentation that we did. And then we also then talked about the next 10 years. What's that going to look like? And this was an opportunity for us to communicate with our community in a video presentation on what we're going to be doing for the next 10 years from a capital, from a programmatic enrollment and capital standpoint. So this was kind of designed to be our launching pad for our couple capital projects that we're working on. So it gave us that sense of trying to, you know, get the community behind us by pulling in the past and projecting out toward the future. So the next thing we did was we created this thing called Gala in a Box. What that was, instead of a person buying a table of 10 at your event, what they could do is they could purchase if they wanted to. There was no gun to anybody's head if they wanted to do this. And you know, being careful with COVID, right? They could buy they could purchase a Gala in a Box where they would have a house party of 10 folks. We would deliver to them. None of these are going to work, I don't think, unfortunately. We were going to deliver to them a plated meal from AJ's with a couple bottles of wine and also the fixings for our signature drink. We had about 10 house parties. And we also opened it up to folks who, if it was just a husband-wife type of a scenario, if they wanted just to order a couple's meal, we had the ability to do that. The magic of 175, what that means is that, believe it or not, we actually fed 175 people that night. It was quite interesting. We had one central location at one AJ's was the catering point. People drove up and got their couples meals, and then we had a bunch of drivers who delivered the gala in a box meals, complete with table settings and hand sanitizers, all kinds of interesting stuff, masks specifically for the event. And then we started zooming into different homes. Oh, Christ. Come on. If it's a one-dimensional event with a virtual event, how do you get that interaction? So what we did is we opted to be able to zoom into people's homes, and where they could actually stand up and cheer and wave and do all this other stuff. And we went around to about 6 or 8 of our homes doing that type of a thing. And none of my pictures are going to work, unfortunately, so I'm just going to stop trying. And I tell you what, it built a sense of being together, even though we were all miles apart, and it was great fun and very, very successful that way. So we felt we did a pretty good job of building the community. Okay, so then we had to go into the script. Now, when you're doing any sort of a live presentation, you have to have a really good script and order of events. And I put Doobie Brothers there minute by minute because we literally created a script that went minute by minute for about 2 hours. We started with a mass that our chaplain celebrated a mass. Which it was supposed to be about 20 minutes, and I think he went 45. And now we pre-recorded that, by the way, and so we knew how long it was actually going to be. We went into a bunch of videos after that. The bishop gave a welcome. Our principal gave a welcome, and then we launched right into the MC doing his biz. And we had all kinds of scrolling screens that highlighted our sponsors and also highlighted pictures from the past and the future and everything else that were kind of there to kind of keep people's attention going, and also filler space as well. But as you look at this, you can kind of see where, here's 6:45, here's 6:46, 6:49, 6:52, and then we really, we boiled it down into a minute by minute process. And I tell you what, it really, really helped us in the end stay on task. So I would strongly encourage y'all to do that. Okay, messaging. So we had a very specific message that we were trying to deliver, and I use the adage KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? And of course, a band from everyone's past. Right? I think there's a really good opportunity to try to do too many things with these. So we were very, very focused on what we were doing. Our number one project right now is that we are renovating what we call the historic campus. That was the buildings that were built after the fire when we moved to a new location. They need some very serious renovation, and that's what we were raising money for. It was very focused. We did a lot of work with sending out advanced images via email and social media to our community, trying to show them what this was, what we were trying to accomplish. the present and the conditions that we have now, and what the conditions are going to be down the road. This is a fun video if it works. We interviewed a couple of our teachers for this. Good grief. Verify it's me. Yeah. Right. Hold on. Hang with me. No, sorry, wrong one. Anybody out there have too many passwords? So what we did was we did renovate one of our classrooms that became kind of like the model home. Oh, I got one that's going to work. So this is one of the classrooms as is that, and this is very short, promise you. But it kind of, what we wanted to do was we really wanted to hammer home the message of what we were doing. So here we go, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this well. And I think it's funny.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Kubik. Well, hold on a second. The AC is really loud. Let me turn it off. Okay, so my name is Cynthia Kubik. I've been here at SETON for, this year will be my 16th year. When I started, my son was 1 year old, and now he goes to this school.
Okay, so what we were doing there was trying to very visually, audibly, from an audio standpoint as well, hammer home the importance of the project that we were embarking on. And I think we did a reasonably good job. We followed it up with a video from the teacher who has the room that actually was renovated, and he doesn't have to turn down the air conditioning. It's the ambient sound is great. He's real calm. It's like he's kind of going into a Zen mode when he's talking about how great his classroom is. It was really quite funny. Anyway, so we delivered that, and then we had to start the momentum. We were going to raise as much money as we possibly could, and this was a great momentum builder for our event. We zoomed into these people's houses, and these people were actually lived at their home in Colorado for the summer. And so here we go. And the audio is not great, but I'll tell you in the end afterwards what it's all about.
Good evening, everybody. In memory and honor of event, Joe and Kathy Campanella, Greg and I are donating $30,000 for a remodel. Sorry. Joe and Kathy were strong supporters of Catholic schools, and particularly of Seton Health. And we are very grateful to be able to remember them in this place. Sorry.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So also, a lot of other people will pitch in as well. So thank you.
Wow, I have chills from that. Greg, Noreen, thank you so much for that, and making that beautiful gift and helping to continue this legacy that is seen. So friends that are out there in this virtual world, let's give Greg and Noreen a big virtual round of applause. Yes.
Okay, so so that was really kind of cool. I mean, it was a very impactful moment, and that's how we started our paddle raise, raising money specifically for this particular renovation project. They donated $30,000, which was a naming opportunity for a classroom. And she started crying, and it was fabulous, frankly. Okay, so the next slide I want to talk to you about is the setup that we had to deal with, and if that looks confusing, it really was. Home, I actually had walking pneumonia the week of our event. It was awesome. Maggie, Karen, and Patricia were at Seton's library, kind of steering the ship from that perspective. We were looped into AES, which is Robin's World. She was our website and bidding group. That's the word that they're in. Our MC auctioneer, Bobby, he's his own entity, and we utilized a group that he's very familiar with here in town called Latest Trace Studio. They did our video productions, and they also they were the ones who were able to broadcast our event to the masses and also coordinate how we were zooming in and out throughout the evening to houses. And we'd zoom into these houses and everyone's just having a great time, and it was really, really wonderful. And they're the ones who pop it into the audience. And then there was the feedback loop, because the audience members were reaching out to us, and I would be getting texts and phone calls saying, hey, can you come to our house? Blah, 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 all kinds of crazy stuff. And everything was very interactive and very jumbled. And I got to tell you, Maggie, Karen, and Patricia, they really did a great job. And while they were in the middle of the evening, the internet at Seton crashed. And that was an interesting adventure as well. So we had all these crazy things. And it was good that we were all communicating back and forth because we got out of sequence right out of the gate. We didn't start where we needed to start. So we missed that. So that was curious. Okay, so things that went well. I think we did a really good job of building community with the whole Gala in a Box concept. People had a really good time. We got a lot of really positive feedback with that. Zooming into the home parties, it was great fun, and it was really wonky at times because people, even in that video I just showed you, people were kind of not really on screen. And that's okay. I mean, there's, it makes it very, very real. We had a matching challenge for the paddle race. Not only were people giving money, not only did Noreen give the money, make the donation up front, when we actually went to raise the paddle, we had another friend of Seton did a matching challenge for every dollar that came in during the Raise the Paddle. He was matching it. The family was matching it dollar for dollar, and that worked out very well. So the item distribution, that was an interesting thing. So Karen and Maggie and Patricia put together a program where we had everything set up by whoever bought the item or won the auction or whatever that might have been. Had it all organized as you would normally do with a live event. But then we had a drive-up window, so to speak, where the winning folks would make an appointment to swing by the school because we were in lockdown, and they could swing by the school and at a specific time, and we would run out the item to them. And it was slick, and it went very, 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 very well. It just really went well, and we got rid of everything pretty darn quickly. Things that weren't so great. One thing I wish we would have had was that a wider breadth of auction items needed. They were pretty one-dimensional, a lot of religious things, a lot of home and garden things. We really needed some additional items, and I think there was a sense that maybe we wouldn't have this event, so maybe we didn't work as hard, or some of the volunteers didn't work quite as hard to get some of the items, whatever. Travel packages were very limited due to stupid COVID. We had a few travel packages, but some of them were drivable, and a couple were, fly to a place, but the window on it was very, very long. But we didn't feel comfortable doing, big trips, so it was kind of limited. This was early days. We didn't know what was going on, and the length of time that we'd be under lockdown and everything. I personally had a very difficult time determining, the value or price point for sponsorship packages. That's just something on me that I got to learn more in a virtual environment. So we got out of sequence. The internet at the school crashed briefly, so that was kind of crazy. These are the things that if we were, well, we are planning an event in August again, a live event, but even if we're 100% live, we'll definitely add a virtual component to it because we had people from all over the country tuning in, and why wouldn't you? And during our virtual event, we opened up the silent auction about a week early. Some people do that with live events. I've never personally done that in places where I've been in my last school, I guess. But I think we do that again. That seemed to have some interesting opportunity. And then I guess the bottom line, going back to my original or one of my earlier slides saying, if you build the community, everything will do pretty well thereafter. We ended up netting about $250,000 for our renovation project. So better than a kick in the head, right? So that's my take. We did okay, and it was fun. I'm going to pass it over to Ashley. Ashley, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Just tell me when to advance, okay?
Okay. So to answer Jim's questions for us, was our cause worth it? And the history of event, it was a yes and a yes for us. Obviously, we think our cause is worth it. That's the kids and the school. And our history of events, we had previously in the spring just had to cancel our 75th annual festival. So our community had a big expectation of an event, and that was a big loss for us to not have that festival. Let's see, our team, we had a combination of volunteers and internal staff at Mount Carmel. I'm a parent volunteer. Father John jokes that I'm a lifer because I went to Mount Carmel and my kids are all there and I can't say no. And he knows it. So I have a co-chair, Jen Blackstad. We both have been there at Mount Carmel for years. Our development director is Kristen Smith. She's on as well. And she was a great help for us because you got to have someone in the office that can finish up the technical things, coordinate with the staff. She was our go-between between us and Father John. We really had a lot of free range. Father John trusts us and knew what we were doing. But obviously we still would get approval, and Kristen was a great help with that. Our technology was all handled by James Solis, who is a staff at OLMC, with the help of a parent volunteer, Pedro Lopez, who was our DJ, and he has a DJing service. And all of our virtual aspect ran through the technology that Mount Carmel has put into place during the pandemic. So that was amazing. And I didn't have much to do with that part of it. Let's see, our vendors, we use Personal Touch Catering, which the diocese has used for multiple items. They are absolutely amazing. Lou is amazing. I can't recommend them more. And then I said our DJ was Pedro Lopez. So our script, we really went off of the huge bummer that our festival was canceled. That's a really big community building event that, I remember going to as a kid and taking my children to every year. And the school counts on that for money every year to keep our tuition costs low. And that was a big hit that we took. We had Father John speak at our event, and Dr. Shoebridge. And then we had Matt Coaches, who's our school advisory board president, an alumni, and a current parent. And he just really played on the fact that it was hard times and we all needed to come together, and whatever amount we were able to do was important and really helped. Our script was plain and simple. We need your help. We needed to build our Falcon Fund, which is a fund that helps families if they're unable to pay for their tuition. And it was probably one of the first years that we had a specific that we were raising money for. And I think that's a really good point. That was really good for us. So we said we were raising money for our Falcon Fund, which was to help kids pay for tuition if they couldn't. And our, play on your heart was, especially with COVID, no one saw that coming. No one saw if they lost their job coming because of something like COVID. So you never know when it could be you. And people were very, very generous. It was pretty raw and real, and the speeches were great. So I think that having a cause and playing on their heart obviously is a great way to raise money. So, okay, Jen. We can go to practical application. Oh, this went well. Our event was very different. We were in October, so we got right on the cusp of, we squeezed in a in person with our virtual. It was very limited. It was, let's see, let me get my notes. It was 100 people max were allowed to be there. That included our staff, that included everything. We had our nurse, Shannon David, was there, and she put into place quite a few practices for us. She took temperature, she had a health screening check, we had doors open, we had masks made and gave masks to everyone. Everyone had to wear masks. Tables were 6 feet apart, only 4 people at a table. So it was very different, and that part of doing it in person was very difficult. My co-chair and I had not planned on doing it in person. And Father John was very adamant that our school for us was used to the community. And if we were still able to have even a small amount of community, then that's what we wanted to do. And ultimately, it went very, very well. He was right. It was a good call to do both. I think it was about a week later, we wouldn't have been able to do both. So, our auction was online this year. We used a company very similar to Robyn's AES. We used Greater Giving. We just had to pick a company. We'd never used any of these companies before. And if you aren't using an online auction company, you should hands down do that. It moves you into the future. It's very helpful. I've helped with the auction for years in our festival, which is all done on paper, and you have to gather your bid sheets after the auctions, and that's a nightmare. So having the auction online where it just calculates what everything was, who won what, and you can just have people come out and check out onto your computer system is amazing and very helpful. So we did an ask. We don't typically do just an ask where you ask for money. We do lots of raffles or kids raffles or super raffles. And we had a gala last year or the year before, that was our first gala that we started doing, even though we had a festival. We wanted a bigger event, raise more money, different from the community building event. And I was very adamant that I really want to raise bigger money for the school. I mean, if you've been involved in Catholic schools for a while, there's never enough money. We always need more and big money, and it's kind of hard to get. So it was our 75th annual festival that had been canceled. So when we met with Jim, because I called Jim and said, help, you're putting this on and have put one on, come give me any tips you have. One of the best things he said was, what about $75 for 75 years? And it was so catchy and everyone loved it. And so we really played on asking every family to donate $75 for 75 years of academic excellence. And it's easy. It's an obtainable amount that every family can do. And if every family in your school did $75, it adds up quick and a lot. And most people did more. And so that was really, really good. Like Jim, we also had a minute-by-minute schedule, and it sounds crazy, but it's not. We didn't stick to it either, but it gives you a place to start and to know where to go. And one thing that was important is for our families that were at home, since we were in person and virtual, we wanted to have planned content for the downtimes. We didn't want the people at home to watch us eat dinner or to watch cocktail hour. So during those times, we had some photo videos played of the kids at school, of some of the renovations that we had done. So those people seem to like those. Branding. So that's our logo that's up there on the screen right now. And my co-chair in the past, Carrie Anthony, and I felt it was really important to come up with a logo that every time someone saw the logo, they knew what it was for, that it was different than the festival, that it was different than home and school asking for something, that this was that's the big event of the year. That's the event that really raises money for the school. And so we used it on everything: invitations, save the date, media, everywhere we went. And when we were coming up with it, Mount Carmel is the Falcons. So we put a falcon on it. And I came up with Night to Soar because, let's see if I wrote it down. In the morning announcements, the student council says a little quote to the kids that's, "Remember Falcons, you're soaring high where the falcons fly." And I just always think that's so cute, and I really like it. So that's where our logo came from. The kids can, the kids recognize it, and it was fun. And I think that the logo makes your event look more professional. It makes it look like you know what you're doing, even if you're still struggling along learning. So I would make a logo. Okay, next slide. Okay, so what went not so great is we had help. We had our staff that would do our technical team, and I had Kristen that I could go to if we really needed it. But all in all, kind of our planning team was like a 2-woman show. And that's a bad idea. It's too much. You can't do it. We gathered almost all of the auction items, put them together. I wrapped all the baskets in my home. I photographed all the baskets in my home. We transported them to the school. We were lucky with items for the gala specifically. Since our festival had been canceled, we had quite a few items sitting around that we didn't get to use for the festival. So we brought those to the gala and used them. And then we also gathered quite a bit more. We do a big round of soliciting to all of the local areas and online, in person, and to parents. But I gotta tell you, we couldn't get the parents to give much this time. They weren't giving items. Once we got to the gala, they were pretty generous with their money. But just like Jen said, volunteers, no way. I mean, I pretty much begged to get about 10 parents to help us transport the 200 some auction items from the school to our location, which also is a horrible idea. It's a horrible idea to move all your baskets from one spot to the other. That was really hard. The other thing we learned was you should probably do a trial of your virtual. We ended up with some kind of crazy, just an outline. It wasn't bad. It was just a thin outline box right in the middle of our virtual event on all our slideshows. Also, we had where our speaker was, there was huge shadows. So at home, they were in the dark. And obviously, if you want to put on a good quality looking event, you want your speakers, your pastor, your principal, your parent speakers to be lit and look good. So we would do a trial of that. The closing times, we had one closing time and we had around 200 auction items. So all of that closed at one time. And then we started our live auction, which was quite different because of being a virtual event. We just had, I think, about 10 live auction items that just all opened at the same time. And I was up at the podium kind of feeding our MC, oh, our parking spot's gone up to this, and then you better get in on it, and to the various different items. But the problem with the closing times is, and we had some parents specifically request this, is we needed to have at least 2 closing times for our silent auction, so that if you didn't win anything in the first time, you have a whole nother chance to spend all your money on the second round of silent auction items. So that's something that we would do different. And then the not so great, like a bigger team, and we would like to create a executive board of gala members. We have had that for our festival, and you just need about a handful of people that you can rely on to make the event run. All right, Jim. So if we will do this event in person, Father John has requested that we are doing our galas. It's going to be our new main fundraising event, whether I really hope it's all in person again, but even if it's in person, we will definitely do a virtual component as well. The auction online, there's always going to be people who can't come, or people who are home, or who have kids, or can't get a babysitter, or grandma who's in, Montana wants to zoom in and spend money. My in-laws bought 2 or 3 auction items for my own kids, and they were home babysitting my kids. So, the grandparents aren't always going to go to the events, or past alum of various ages aren't always going to go to the events, but they probably will spend their money at your event. So I would definitely do a virtual component. As I said, we will absolutely continue using an auction software. That is just basically a must. You have to have them. We'll continue doing a donation ask. This was another thing Jim asked or told us to try to figure out how to do, which was different for us. We've never had someone willing to match a donation before. He said, you got to try to find someone to do a matching opportunity. And so I asked Kristen, you got to find someone, or ask Father John to find someone who wants to do a matching opportunity. And we did. We found someone who was willing to do a $10,000 match during our event. And that was just fabulous because we played on that. We have someone right now willing to match our what we make to $10,000. So we need your $75 for 75 years right now. And we did it. We got 10,000 and got the matching, and plus beyond. It was really good. That went really, really well. If we can't get a matching opportunity, we like the idea, similar to SETON did, of saying, $5,000 pays for a student to go to school for a year. So if you can donate $5,000 right now, that's great. That's what we need. Or, $250 buys books. So specifically what your money's going for, it went well for us and people like knowing. Our MC and our speaker were local to us. Our MC was actually a parishioner who has grandkids at school now, and his children went to school. And that is different for us. We've always used Richard Signs in our festival in the past. And I think that for our community, a community member as the MC was a better go for us. So for that, I think you just need to look at your community, the dynamic of what your community would be interested in. And I think people really enjoyed hearing from Matt Coaches, our parent and person involved in our school, on why this was so important. So for us, it was better to look within. We did do Gala in the Box also. So we had around 100 people at the event, and we had about 40 couples sold in virtual, that Gala in a Box, where they came and picked up their gala items, their food, their mask, their bottle of wine. And then those were supposed to be for a couple. So that was the 80 people, and lots of them had more than that at their house. So, that would have been around 200 people at the event for us. And for our size school, that would be a really good event. And our first gala, we had just about 100. So for our second year being virtual and in person, we just about doubled it. It was pretty good. And we ended up netting just over $95,000. So for our school, that's really well. And we typically make similar amounts when we put on our festival, but the festival takes so much more work and costs so much more. So, this was really a step in the right direction for us, and hopefully it continues to go as well in each year. So I put my email, if anyone thinks I have anything of value to add, they can email me any questions too. So.
We're almost right at noon. So before we go on over to Robyn, I just wanted to let everyone know, if you have another commitment that you have to jump off to, please be welcome to jump off and go tend to what you have lined up. We're going to continue with the presentation, and it'll continue recording, and we'll be sharing that later today. So I'll turn it back over to you, Jim, to introduce Robyn.
Okay, that sounds good. Just some quick parting thoughts on my end. Don't try to be perfect. It won't be. You'll have some goof ups, but be very diligent with your details. Get it down to the minute, but at the same time, don't sweat those details, because things are going to, kind of screw up a little bit. Trust the process. So you want me to stop screen sharing, right? Yes, I will stop screen sharing, and I'm going to let Robyn do her magic. Okay.
Great.
Robyn, I've made you a co-host, so if you have something to share, you should have the ability to do so now.
Yes, perfect. I do. Yep, I have that on there. Perfect. Well, I wanted to just do a brief introduction. My name is Robyn Broshears. I operate auction and event solutions here in Arizona. I see a lot of my clients and friends on here, so hi and welcome. I am not selling today. I am not telling you guys to use AES. I am not here for that. When Jim asked me to be a part of this today, it was to share our insight on the virtual world. We pivoted very, very quickly in March of last year with everybody else. And it took us really into a shock mode of what in the world are we all doing now? And how do we make events still successful? You all have very valid causes and very valid organizations that still need the revenue. So we were really kind of taking a step back in the beginning and saying, okay, we're going to shift with everybody. We have a platform that already does the online bidding, that can already handle online ticket sales, that can already handle all of the messaging component. We've been doing that for quite a few years. So we took a different route and said, okay, let's take all of our expertise and all of our knowledge over the last 16 years here in the Valley and say, how can we help? How can we continue to offer this guidance and suggestions? So together as a team, we developed a webinar series on virtual events. And it really was just putting all of our information and all of our knowledge out there to all of our clients and saying, here are still the things that we want you to consider when you're doing a virtual event, or now the world of hybrid events, which is where you are seeing, like Ashley did, 100 people in person with you, but then the rest of your guests are joining you virtually from home. And how do you mesh those two together to where you still do have that community built and the revenue building that you are expecting? So each of our weeks of our webinar, we took into account for your EV, we took into account scripting and timelines, because all of that is still valid, whether you're doing an in-person or a virtual or a hybrid. And the community was the big piece. And so we've watched and been a part of, my gosh, over 100 virtual events from March of last year through the end of the year. And we really looked at the key components, and our biggest takeaway for you guys is to really make sure that your mission is the forefront. So in a live event, you have 4 or 5 hours to share your mission and share what you do as a school. In these virtual and hybrid events, you have 1 hour. And that is really what we see as kind of the max timeline when you're running a virtual event, or even when you're doing a hybrid. People who are joining you from home when you're doing a in-person event don't have that 3 to 4 hours to give you. So you really need to still manage that hybrid scenario within an hour timeline for them. So there's a lot to consider and a lot to put into that 1 hour program, but really make it mission based. And SETON did a phenomenal job with their videos. We do see a pre-recorded with a mixture of live, which is what SETON did, Their videos were able to be controlled, which is a big component when you're looking at being in person. We joke in one of our webinars that in an in-person, you all know that people can go on and on and on the microphone, and you have no control over that. It's kind of like the joke of the Emmys or the Oscars. When that background music starts, it's like, okay, enough, stop, stop, stop. When you pre-record your content, you definitely have that control, and you can make your mission be that focus within that pre-recording. And we do it a lot. We have a lot of events that are mixed with pre-recorded and live. And when they're done correctly with your AV team, you have no idea as a viewer what was live and what was pre-recorded. To a phenomenal AV team, it'll look seamless from start to finish, and to everybody, it's all live. And that's what you really want to make sure is happening, is that transitional time frame that you're doing sticks to be seamless. You can also, for within your mission, is being able to have those people, like SETON had as well, is having your supporters that have been with you forever be your speakers. They're the ones that are going to have those heartfelt messages that will make or break the donor commitment that you're looking for. And everybody is after the donor connection right now. You have a bigger obstacle with virtual events to make that connection, but keeping your mission forefront will absolutely do that. The other biggest transition everybody has had with moving to virtual is online auctions. And not everybody has really kind of dove into that realm of doing things via the tablets or your cell phones. You may have an apprehension of guests going, I don't think my patron base can handle this. What do we do? We do a lot of tutorials with our clients, and we do a lot of how to bid documents before your event ever takes place. If you can get your guests comfortable before you ask them to do something, that revenue will just continue to go up. But if they struggle, and that's the first time they see it, is when you say, ladies and gentlemen, let's go online and give us our donation. And they go, I can't figure this out. And they stop. You lose that commitment that would have been there had they been in person or doing it the virtual way. So a lot of pre-communication is what we talk about as well with our events now, with virtual, even our hybrids and even our in-persons. We do a lot of pre-communication to our guests to make them feel comfortable before they ever get on site. And I will tell you that technology now for everybody has been immensely different you did 5 years ago, say with events that were transitioning. Now it's kind of, okay, I get it. I'm on my phone a lot more. I know how to do this. As long as it's, can you follow a prompt and can you guide me through it, you'll have much better success. Ashley talked about having 200 silent auction items in her event. Absolutely looking at that within your structure of having multiple closings. When you get that high in number of silent auction items, you definitely need to look at having some structure in your closings, so that not that you shift money, but you shift commitment. Your revenue may not see a huge jump with your structured timings of your closings when you have that many auction items, but it will gear your patrons to be able to focus and give them a little better of a structure than having to remember 200 silent auction items all at once. So it just does give them a little more structure, and that helps as well to make them feel comfortable within the platform. Any of the online platforms that are out there should be able to do your outbid notifications, should be able to do your SMS notifications. We have 3 different ones on our platform, as do a lot. And we do the SMS, which are your short text message notifications. We do email communications as well. So with SETON, we did a lot of pre-communication via email that gave the more in-depth knowledge, the more detailed of, here's how you stream the video, here's how you participate, here's our timeline for the evening. And then we follow up with emails after the event that gives them that closing kind of structure that we miss by being on site together of how do you redeem your items? How do you receive your invoice? How do you do all of your kind of closeout that you would be doing on property if we were together? And then our third notification system is the text to act. And that's your short, very quick driven, which is text SETON to 61094 to donate $50 tonight. So you've got those 3 different messaging channels, and each of them within one of our webinars, we talk about each one of them should be utilized differently as well and for different aspects of your event. So messaging is key. It definitely will bring your community together. It definitely puts kind of that full circle around your event that you would have if everybody was together. And you can shoot out messaging during your program as well. So 15 minutes before your ask is supposed to arrive, you can do a quick text message that says, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready for the donation cash appeal. Make sure you're in your donation category. So we kind of structure them that way a little bit as well. Within the platform, though, what you want to make sure and what kind of makes it the easiest for your guests is if you have one platform that your guests have to go to. And I will start sharing. Jim, I hope you're okay with me doing this. I am going to share your event site with the group. But this is what we create with our clients is what we consider an event microsite. And this is your homepage for your event. So when you're getting ready to communicate about your event, you'll want to give them one site. If they have to bounce between multiple sites and multiple web addresses, they'll get lost. So the best way is if your auction site can handle everything. This is where SETON's guests went to buy their tickets, buy their sponsorships, buy their auction in a box, their gala in a box. All of that came to this site. So their guests started to already get used to what it looked like and how it operated by starting them from the get-go. Once they went into the day, then they were able to get into the streaming component. So as you scroll down on that homepage, we opened up the video component section, and that's the streaming video that took place. And this is viewable the whole time. So Jim, I don't know if you wanted to even open this up to the group to be able to go back and view, but this was his video stream from start to finish on his event.
Yes, it's still live.
It is. Yep. Yeah. We haven't taken it down yet. We usually let you tell us. But as you go through, then you've got additional, oh, I'm so sorry. That is not supposed to be there. So sorry about that. I have, obviously, here we go. Oh no, where did it go? There we go. You have the opportunity to also do a additional component on your home screen of a detail about your event. So you can share on here your timeline for the night as if you would have a program timeline printed at your event. This is all open-ended. We've taken some stuff down, obviously, because it doesn't pertain any longer. But you've got the opportunity to showcase sponsors. So you have a scrolling sponsor screen on here as well. I know, Jim, you talked about being able to price point your sponsors. Really, to be quite honest with you guys, your sponsorships should not be changing all that much in price point. You actually, with a virtual event,
Uh-oh, I think we lost Robin.
there we go. Did it come back?
Oh, you're back, yeah.
How strange. Okay, it might have been the Zoom that bumped me out. Okay, let's go back and I can continue to share. So you've got a multiple of opportunities with that home screen to be able to do your sponsorships, your programming. Your sponsorships really shouldn't change. There are an additional multitude of opportunities that you can include sponsorships that you can't do in person. So it gives them additional exposure. From our homepage, you can actually link to their websites. You can do their scrolling sponsor throughout the whole program timeframe. So you've got additional ways, as long as we're kind of ready to think outside of our gala box and go, okay, what else can I offer our title sponsor, or what else could I offer an auction sponsor this year? We are not telling our clients to change the dollar amounts of their sponsorships, just add more benefit within it. The virtual realm has so many new pieces to it that you can do that we're not seeing a change in those sponsorship dollars. It's just now the presentation of how you do the commitments may change a little bit. Auction items, yes. Ashley had it and Jim had it, where auction items are a little bit different right now during this whole situation. Trips and travel are a little more difficult to come by, a little more difficult to sell, because we just don't know what to expect. But you can absolutely do all of your health and beauties, your home decor. You can still do all of the traditional standard auction items. It's just, if you're looking for trips and travel, we partner with one of our organizations that does a lot of our travel items for our clients, and they're just extending the use time on those. So if you're getting the personal donations where you have timeshares and such available for your clients, or from your parent base, being able to extend those use times will greatly add to the opportunity to sell them for the same dollars that you've seen in the past. We have one of our companies right now is doing a 2-year extension on everything that was purchased in 2020, just to allow for situations to settle down, obviously, and to have travel come back as an opportunity. So you've got some different ways. Silent auctions still have the same components. Jim talked about obviously opening up a silent auction early. We definitely do that. We definitely suggest that. It helps your guests to get into the process of the platform in a comforting environment before they're pushed to do live auctions, donations, raffles in the spur of the moment. So by opening up your silent auction, say even 3 days earlier than what your virtual platform would be or your hybrid event would be, it just gives an opportunity for the guests to get acclimated to that platform in the comfort of a slow start. And then when you say, let's move to the donation, they go, I'm there, I'm ready to go, and I've got it. So definitely do that. We also have a lot of our organizations that are extending their silent auctions past the time of their virtual event. We don't have a timeline. We don't open it up and say you can only run it for a week or for 2 weeks. I think your sweet spot is a 2-week time frame. Just because, of course, there are hundreds of other events now taking place on a daily basis. And we're constantly shifting. Even now with our spring, we're still shifting from February and March back into April and May, and even into our fall. So you're going to see a lot of more events on the same night as your event than you've seen in the past. And I think that'll take a couple of years still to follow through before everybody gets back into their groove of when their event date typically is. So just kind of keeping that in mind as well too, is that flows with our 1-hour time frame, because they could be doing 3 other events that same day from the comfort of their home, but you want to make sure that their attention is stuck with you during your time frame that you have. So yeah, we've kind of just looked at everything from what a live event used to be, and really, to be quite honest, everything flows to a virtual or to a hybrid event. Hybrids are a different beast for everybody, because you are coordinating that group who's on site, like Ashley did, in coordination with the people who are at home viewing things. There's a lot, like she was doing, trying to coordinate her speech and her live auction values at the same time. There is some new coordination that takes place with hybrids. We're definitely going to see a lot of hybrids this year. And I think it's just not only from a standpoint of what you are trying to do in controlling how many are on site, but our venues are still really stuck with, hey, we may be able to hold traditionally a 500 to 700 ballroom, but you get 200. And that's so that we maintain that social distance. Everything still maintains So you're going to see those restrictions and kind of requirements throughout this whole year. So with hybrids, just kind of keeping in mind, you will want to have a team that can manage your hybrid who are at home with a team that can manage your in-person, and they need to be in sync together in order to make things flow the way that you really expect them to. So if you are interested, I can certainly send, maybe Brian, I can email it to you, is all of our webinar series that we did. It's all information that you guys could probably gain some sort of piece to your buckets this year within your event planning. But we did tackle every aspect of your event because, like I say, we try to just share our information and our knowledge. Nothing is ever held captive. We don't look at it like that. We try to help as many organizations as we can, especially in these times right now where everything is so different. So, you know, and yeah, Jim, you're commenting, our webinar series, nothing is over 10 minutes. I think the most is maybe even 7 or 8 minutes. We try to tackle it, really be direct about what you need to think about, things to consider when you're looking at each piece to your puzzle, and walk away with hopefully a new tidbit of information to incorporate into your event. So yeah, if anybody has questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything that you've got coming up on your plate with your event, or you're more than welcome to email me as well. And I'm happy to have that side conversation with you as well. There's never a sales strings attached. I'm always here to help however I can. And that's kind of been my motto since we opened in 2004, is just help wherever we can. And we've seen it, we've done it, we've been around the block. So we definitely have opportunities to share with you that we'd be happy to. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all that information and for giving us, you know, some resources and some ideas to think about, especially those that are kind of heading into the virtual event realm, which Bourgade is heading towards. So I know I'm super appreciative on a personal level to hear some of those thoughts and ideas. But big thank you to Jim and Ashley as well. Thank you for both sharing your kind of individual situations and experiences with the virtual event world. Jim, especially you having to do it like right when this thing all went down. Not that there's any advantages to it, but, you know, having seen everything play out the way it has, those of us diving in now have a little bit of an idea of what to expect, and knowing that things can change super quickly. So thank you all three of you for just sharing some insights and information. I know that a lot of our folks here are going to take away bits and pieces of that information and do some good things with it. There was one question that I saw pop up for Jim and for Ashley, just a question about how much you charged for your Gala in the Box package.
So we did $650 for a meal of 10. It was that 65th anniversary thing, and priced out reasonably well. You know, I think if you're trying to make a lot of money on your meals, you're barking up the wrong tree. So, that's kind of, you know, what we did.
And our in-person tickets were $100 each person, and then our Gala in a Box was $100 for the couple. So it was $100 to get the charcuterie board, food, dessert, bottle of wine, and 2 masks. We didn't really make money on those. It was get the item. It was our way to get that whole group of virtual people in. And anyone, I forgot to mention this, you only could watch the virtual event if they purchased that Gala in a Box for us, but anyone could come be on the auction. So the auction was open to anyone. I could have sent the auction to anyone, anywhere.
We did kind of just the opposite. We made it free for anybody who wanted to zoom in and watch, but we did sell meals, and seemed to work out. You know, I mean, potato, right? I mean, I don't know. Worked out. I guess I would add one more thing. If anyone's out there, you know, wondering if they should go down this path or not. Your audience they're starving to do things, starving.
Mhm.
I wouldn't hesitate to do this again. I would just go for it. Somebody asked if anyone has a golf event coming up. We've got one on the 29th of this month. I've got a waiting list. I've turned people down, and I've been turning people down since December, early December. And it's people just want to do something, for God's sake. And don't hesitate. Don't just do it. Why not? What the heck? What's the worst that's going to happen, right? Don't cost much. Well, it does, but not that much.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, the three of you, for sharing so much info. Before we get out of here, I want to turn it over to CEA real quick. I think they might have had some updates to share. Colleen, are you still with us and wanting to share some updates?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me? Updates from CEA. So we've got checks to pick up later on this week. So y'all should be watching for an email from us. We'll let you know as soon as you can get those. Photography. We are going to be doing, I know last year we only ended up being able to do professional photography at half of the schools. This year we are going to try to do everybody once again, even in the pandemic. So I was speaking with a photographer recently, and he wanted to know, how are the schools feeling? What are the protocols that they want in place? Those kinds of things. So I am going to be sending out an email to feel out the campuses and give some suggestions and see where you're all at, so that we can do this in the safest and most comfortable way and just still get some great photographs for marketing for next year. Okay. Facebook campaigns that we're running for your schools. If you haven't run a Facebook campaign, I think we had 30 of the schools do Facebook campaigns with us this year. But if you haven't done one, last call, email me and we'll run a Facebook campaign for you this month on any event or any topic that you want. Open houses are coming up. Catholic Schools Week is coming up. Whatever message you want, we want to market for you. So call me, let me do that for you. More free marketing for you. If you want free marketing, please call me, because I have like 18 different avenues that I can market your school for you. So please let me do that. I need alumni stories for our newsletter. Our newsletter is going out to 26,000 people now. Call me, let me write a story about your school, about people who have graduated from your school. I do the school story. I try to get as many schools as I can in those articles. I do the alumni stories, which are our most read article consistently every month. So let me write about your alumni. Please contact me if you would like for me to showcase you in any way in our newsletter. And if you'd like to be a podcast guest, that's another thing that my school guests are getting the most. We're getting the most downloads when I have school guests on. Mary Jo Wallers was my most recent guest. Her podcast is available right now on our website on Apple and Google Podcasts. Jim has done a podcast with me. I did one with Bourgade, with Seton, St. Simon and Jude, Notre Dame Prep. So if you want to come on and be a podcast guest, talk about your school, again, talk about CEA and making Catholic education affordable, let's work together. So please give me a call if you would like to do any of those things. All right.
Thanks, Colleen. Appreciate that.
Yep.
I did not see anyone, but just throwing it out there in case I might have missed them. Anyone from Catholic Schools Office? Is there anyone here from Catholic Schools Office to give some updates? I did not see Dominic or Mary or Jennifer or anyone else. So I think we're good there. Right before we hop off, I just want to give the dates for our next 3 meetings coming up on a Tuesday in February 16th. We are welcoming myself and Steve Hoza, who's a Bourgade class of 1980 alumnus, who is going to share some information about archiving strategies and how to preserve databases and how to collect alumni artifacts and how to use those tools and those resources to help boost some of your programs and engagement and things like that. So that's Tuesday, February 16th. I think we're going to stick with the 10 a.m. start time. This was just a little bit of an outlier because of the principal meeting. Hopefully we don't have any other conflicts for the rest of the school year. Originally, the February 16th meeting was supposed to be here at Bourgade. Because things are what they are and haven't gotten much better, especially here in our state. We are going to keep that meeting as virtual, as well as the other meetings for the rest of the school year. So Tuesday, February 16th, virtual. 10 a.m. plan on it unless I send out communication otherwise. Our March meeting will be on March 16th. That will be more of a kind of all-inclusive group discussion about enrollment strategies and admissions events and what we're doing on that front. And then Tuesday, April 27th, again, a virtual meeting. This will be our last meeting of the school year, and this will be an opportunity to talk about the topics that we're going to want to see presented on next school year. This will also be an opportunity for me to pass my torch, although I'm still willing to stick around and help wherever it may be needed. But I'd like to invite anyone interested to kind of step up and take the role of facilitating the meetings and doing that sort of thing. It's not as intimidating as some might think it might be. It's also not as time consuming as some might think it will be, but I'd love for anyone who's interested in that to reach out to me. The last thing that I will mention before we jump off is Jim, Ashley, and Robin have all been gracious enough to share their contact information. So I'll be following up our presentation today with an email that will include the recorded presentation as well as their direct contact info should you have any additional questions or want to reach out to them individually. Again, thank you to the three of them for offering that info and being available to help assist where needed. Thank you everyone for taking the time. We went a little bit long today, so I appreciate you sticking in. I hope things are going well at your school. I hope your new year is off to a good start. Turbulent times indeed, but we continue to push through and we continue to persevere. So you're all in my prayers and I'm wishing the best for you. Please keep Bourgade in your prayers. We are coming up on an April virtual gala event. So please say a prayer for us as well. And I hope you all have a good rest of your week and I will be in touch soon. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.